Good morning, all. Hope everybody studied yesterday till late night, and I feel very glad that I received the message sharp at 5:55. Everybody awaken and get preparing for the examination. I wish all the best for tomorrow exam. Okay. Yesterday we discussed a lot on biology, and 2 more chapters were left under biology, and soon after that I'll continue with the chemistry. So that let me see whether chemistry will complete in this morning session, and at afternoon 3 o'clock I'll go with physics. Okay, now we are going to discuss on heredity and evolution. Yesterday we discussed on complete first semester book and also reproduction in plants and animals. And now let me discuss on the chapter heredity and evolution. And before starting this, let me confirm whether my voice is audible clear. And now I am going to share the screen. Let me hope we have good network today. Okay, fine. Well, Lakshmi, if it is audible, I'll share the screen. Let me check whether when I share the screen my voice is audible or not. Okay? Okay, see the images right now. Showing the accumulation of variation during reproduction. It give birth to their offspring. You find a variation. Is retained, and again further changes took place. Another red indication is found in second one, and in the same way the green base, it was retained. Along with that, the blue indication, again it is undergone change. What all these indicates? These indicates the variations. Once the variations occurs, it will retain in the next generation. That is, the changes got adapted in the organism for next generation also. And it is not sure that in the next generation you can't find any variation. Again, along with the variation from the first one, which is passed from the first generation, along with that they may have a variation and that continue for the next generation. And thus the variation continuously we find in an organism, and it will get adapted. And it carries to the next generation. In order to study the heredity, so we have to know that Gregor John Mendel is considered to be the father of genetics. He made a lot of research work on heredity. Then what is heredity? We'll study the process of carrying the traits and characteristics from one generation to another generation. Study of the process of transferring the traits or characteristics from one generation to another generation is known as heredity. And in the heredity, we come to know that the traits are carried. Okay, let me confirm when I share the screen whether my voice is audible. When I share the screen, my voice is clear? No breaking of the voice? Okay, fine. I'll share the screen because many times it happens when I share the screen, the voice won't be audible, but I'll go on. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. I'll continue. Characteristics are transferred from parents to their children. And these are inherited traits which transfers from parents to their offsprings are called inherited traits. And that traits are expressed among the individuals. And traits which are expressed are called because of dominating genes. The traits which are not expressed but still they are in an organism, they are not expressed, and that is due to recessive genes. These concepts were given by Gregor John Mendel. And Gregor John Mendel selected the pea plant for his research work. Why he selected the pea plant for his research work? Because of 7 contrasting characters. What are the 7 contrasting characters? Pea shape, either it is round or wrinkle. Pea seed color, green or yellow. Pod shape, that means fruit shape, constricted or inflated. Pod color, the color of the fruit, it is green or yellow. Flowers colors, purple or white. Plant size, tall or dwarf. Position of the flowers, axial or terminal. Such variations are found in pea plant, and he need the variations in order to study the differences. So he selected pea plant because of these 7 contrasting characters. Other than this, he selected pea plant because its lifespan is very short. He can get more generation in a year, and it can grow anywhere. It can adjust to any kind of environment, and it has more contrasting characters. It can go with self-pollination and cross-pollination, and if it goes with the cross-pollination, it shows hybridization. Hence, he selected pea plant. So this is the image showing 7 different contrasting characters. You can observe seed, and you can observe pod, that means fruit, and even you can observe the flowers, and you can observe the position of the flower. So this is the image, explains about 7 contrasting characters of pea plant. Mendel went with research work, that is, he went with crossing 2 pea plants with 1 contrasting character, that is monohybridization. In monohybridization, he selected only 1 character, that is length of the plant. He selected 1 long plant and 1 dwarf plant, he made crossed, and in F1 generation he crossed the tall plant with the short plant, and he found that all plants are tall. He didn't find the short plant in F1 generation. He found all plants are tall. So this is F1 generation. Capital T, small t. When it crossed capital T, small t, that is all plants are tall plants. And what is the ratio of F1 generation? It is only 1. The ratio of F1 generation is 1 because all plants are tall and there is no variation. So the ratio is 1. F1 generation ratio is 1. Capital T, small t. He crossed between F1 plants. Then he found a variation. 3 plants are tall and 1 plant is dwarf. And look at the gametes. First one capital T, the second one capital T, small t, and the third one small t. This indicates 3 plants are tall and 1 plant is dwarf. 3 plants are tall and 1 plant is dwarf. And hence the ratio is 3:1. This is phenotypic ratio. But when you look at the genes, genetic level, 1:2:1 is the answer. Now in the F2 generation, in mono-hybrid cross, the ratio is, the phenotypic ratio is 3:1 and the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. And this is the image showing dihybrid cross. Mendel selected 2 contrasting characters in dihybrid cross. He crossed 2 plants with 2 different contrasting characters. When he crossed round and yellow and okay. Okay, here a little bit variation with your textbook to the image. In the textbook it was given round and green, wrinkle and yellow, right? But here in the image it is round and yellow, green and wrinkled. Okay. Now you can write in any way based on the questions arised on the gametes. Okay. Sometimes in the examination they'll give the gametes and you want to see the result. You want to put the checkerboard, you want to draw the checkerboard, you want to frame the gametes, and then you want to finalize what will be the output. Okay, there this information can won't be helpful, but here when you practice in this way, if they ask to draw the checkerboard, that is dihybrid checkerboard, definitely this image will helpful. You want to draw the checkerboard completely based on the gametes. Now look at the gametes. Capital Y, capital R, capital Y, small r. Horizontal. Find The first triangle, you look at outer triangle without diagonal, with the diagonal, outermost triangle with the diagonal. All seeds are yellow and round. Now look at second triangle, leaving 2 yellow round seeds. You will get 3 yellow wrinkled seeds. Look at third triangle, 3 round seeds. And look at last box, green and wrinkled. Now what will be the ratio? 9:3:3:1. This is the ratio of F2 generations. In the F1 generation, it is all plants are round and yellow. Hence, the F1 ratio is 1. And F2 generation is 9:3:3:1. Both phenotypic and genotypic ratio is 9:3:3:1. What Kalpana gave some readings, I don't know, I didn't understood that. 315 round. Okay, now all of you cleared with dihybrid cross, right? In monohybrid cross, it is F1 generation is 1 ratio, F2 generation is 3:1. But in dihybrid cross, the ratio of F1 generation is 1 and the ratio of F2 generation is 9:3:3:1. It is both for phenotypic and genotypic. But in monohybrid cross, phenotypic is 3:1, but genotypic is 1:2:1. Okay, I hope everybody cleared with these concepts. Monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. All of you cleared? Okay, then we'll move on to the next concept. I told some characters will be expressed and some will be suppressed. The characters are expressed because of dominating genes and some characters are suppressed because of recessive gene. You can observe the earlobes. Human beings have a free earlobes. Look at the base. Earlobe means base. And in the second diagram, you can observe the earlobe is fused. It is fused to the head. And this is, the first one is due to dominating gene and the second one is due to recessive gene. So, characteristics will be expressed based on dominating and recessive genes. This is about monohybrid cross. You can observe clearly father of genetics. And the Charles Darwin, he is Mr. Charles Darwin. When he was 22 years old, he went for 5 years voyage to an island. And there he studied a lot on different organisms, apes, birds, and many other organisms. And there he come to know that evolution is a natural process which happens naturally, and all organisms are evolved from simple organisms. Later they develop as complex organisms. And Charles Darwin is considered to be the father of evolution. The father of evolution. And this is an example for evolution, how the evolution will come to an existence. Now in the first row you can see that all beetles are red. Only one undergone change to green. Okay, one has been changed to green. Red has changed to green. Now the crows started feeding on the red beetles. They can't find the green beetles on the green plants. Started and they are not found. All red beetles are eaten away by the crows. But what is the green beetles? Their population were increased. This is called natural selection. The adaptations which we get from the evolution, they easily get adapted to the environment, and those organisms will survive. And which are not adapted to the environment, they'll be removed from the nature. And this first example is very good example for natural selection. One undergone change, that is converted into blue color. But blue is also visible for the crows. All red beetles are free enough to develop, and all blue also. All blue also developing. Suddenly, because of accident, an elephant foot will kill all the red beetles. Only blue beetles are left over. Now you look at the last one. Only blue beetles were increased because all red were killed by the elephant foot. Accidentally, blue were survived. And here there is no problem of the crows, so blue were developing a lot. See here, accidentally, the gene frequency of the blue beetles were increased, and this is known as genetic drift. Accidentally, that variation may increases the gene frequency, and that concept is called genetic drift. And food, they were healthy, and because of scarcity of the food, they went very small, and again when the food was plenty and feeding on the food, again it changed to the healthy beetles. Now here it is only nutrition making it very weak, nutrition making very strong. Here there is no role of genes, and such characters doesn't carry to the next generation. The nutrition, environmental effect, certain changes, it won't be transferred for next generation. So these are the examples for the inherited characters which get easily transferred from one generation to the another generation. The traits are differentiated as acquired traits and inherited traits. Acquired traits are and inherited traits are the traits which carries from the genes from parents to their offsprings. Acquired characters sometimes feeding on the grass. Suddenly the grass was completely nil. So they were not getting the grass. They were feeding on long trees. So they want to stretch their heads and came into existence. But it was adopted in that organism, and that change again carried to the next generation. Acquired character, but it was inherited to the next generation. Okay, I'll be back within 5 minutes. So I'll request Priyanka to put few questions based on the heredity and evolution. Priyanka, you just pose the questions. Other rest of you all just answer. I'll be back within 5 minutes. to the next generation, and the concept is called acquired inherited characters. The characters is not original, they acquired, but they are carried to the next generation, hence it is called acquired inherited characters. Acquired, even it is carried to the next generation, and hence it is called acquired inherited characters. What is the problem when your data is Kali? Today's data, why so fast? And yesterday it was, even for 2 hours the data was there, and today how come just now I started the class? Okay, we'll move on to the next concept. Okay, now we come to know that what are acquired and inherited characters. In the same way, there are certain changes we find in different organisms, but still we come to know that by seeing, right? Different homologous organisms are different, the function of different, we feel like they are evolved from same origin, and such organs are called same origin but perform different function. They have same basic structure but they perform different functions. Such organs are called homologous organs. A very hardened impression of the body parts and that could preserve for long time are called fossils. Preserved traces of living organisms are called fossils. Once they were alive, due to natural calamities, they have been hidden in a tree trunk or between the rocks or between the soil layers, but the part of the organism been remained. They persisted, and the body part is having some appearance, and such things are called fossils. And how these fossils get accumulated in the layers? Look at the images. The first one, it is about 100 billion years fossil, and it has been accumulated in the sandstone. Under high pressure, the parts are still available, and that available parts are called fossils. And look at second image, the dinosaurs whose body is so high, so heavy, and the parts are broken down and the parts are accumulated in the layers. And look at the third diagram, it is the image of horse. Horse, again it is huge organism and the parts are accumulated in the layers. And look at the last diagram, even though the horse fossils of the same age were distributed to 3 different layers, we finalize the fossils based on its availability. If they are available at the first layer, we feel it is recent fossil. If it is available at the second layer, we feel it is older than the first fossil, and it is available at the third layer, we feel that is old fossil. This is based on the layers. Now, same horse parts were distributed for 3 different layers. Now, you cannot conclude on the layers. It becomes wrong because the fossils of the same animal distributed for 3 different layers. Then how to identify the age of the fossil now? It is by carbon dating. Carbon dating is a process where we use carbon isotope in order to calculate the age of the fossil. Carbon dating easily now used to identify the age of the fossil. So this is how the fossils were identified. Now, evolution, if we look at some examples, evolution is found in few organisms. This is a flatworm called planaria, and which can detect light, and thus eyes came into evolution. And this is a dinosaur, the fossil trace of the dinosaurs. When you look at the traces, you can find the forelimbs. Forelimbs, easily you can identify it looks like a bird, but it is not the bird. It is a dinosaur. It is a reptile. From this image, we can conclude that the birds are evolved from the reptiles because they have wings. They have forelimbs just like birds. And definitely we can conclude that the birds came into existence after the dinosaurs, right? After the end of the dinosaur reptiles. Now this easily we can say that maybe the birds evolved from the reptiles. And it is not maybe, it is definitely yes, it is evolved from the reptiles. And this is wild cabbage, and wild cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, and kohlrabi. These are the other kinds of at the center diagram, that is wild cabbage, and this says that evolution should not be equated with the progress. If we equate the evolution with the progress, definitely we should not find wild cabbage. That should get vanished, and only new species should survive. But we can see wild cabbage along with the new breeds. This indicates that evolution should not be equated with the progress. We can find old species and along with the new species. And human evolution. Now before entering into human evolution, we should know that even humans have been origined from a primitive organism, but later it developed as a multicellular apes, and definitely you can find similarities between the apes and human beings, as they all belongs to the same primates. And when we look at the generation of human, very a long time to get evolved with Homo sapien. Before to Homo sapien, many other generations have came into existence, and footprints to trace where the human has originated, it shows the African roots. The fossils were found at Africa. It indicates that Central Asia, Eurasia, South Asia, Americans. Thus, the human from Africa started migrating to different continents in search of food because of competition and many more other reasons. And here in this chapter, definitely the questions completely based on the monohybrid, dihybrid, okay, and evolution traces. Examples, you want to note the examples. What are homologous organs and analogous organs and their examples? And what are the basis for genetic drift? And what is speciation and speciation reason? What are the main reasons for speciation? All these are the very important. You all know that formation of new species and giving birth to new organism is known as speciation, and the main reasons for that is gene flow, genetic drift, natural selection, and a vast change in DNA. All these are the reasons for speciation. Okay, this about important concepts you come across in heredity and evolution. Okay, now the network has gone. It's poor network. That is the reason why it is buffering. Now audible? Okay, when I shared the screen, the network was gone. Because of that reason, why you all not heard the voice clearly? Okay, mic is on. I don't know why you all not hear. Okay, when I shared the screen, you all not heard me. Okay, till where you come to know the concept in heredity and evolution which was missed? I'll repeat the concept. If somehow, if any one or two people heard when I shared the screen, that will be retained. Okay, you can check later. If no one heard me when I shared the screen, then I'll repeat the concepts which you missed. Now, which were the concept you missed? Or anyone heard when I shared the screen? Many of you are saying now it is audible. What about when I shared the screen? No one heard. Okay, if Revati heard when I shared the screen, definitely the content will be there in the link. Okay, those who missed, you can go through once again in that. Okay, we'll move on to the next lesson, sustainable management of natural resources. Natural resources are abundant and we have to depend on natural resources rather than making synthetic materials. When you go for synthetic materials, definitely one or other day will pollute the environment. So it is always best to use the natural resources as it is instead of changing it into other type. Now, We all know that the Ganga project, multi-crore project, came into existence in 1985. Why it came into existence? As the Ganga, it flows about 2,500 miles from Gangotri to Bay of Bengal. It flows hundreds of thousands of kilometers, passing different cities in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal. Do you know, along with these rivers, it is carrying abundant of garbage, bacteria, pathogens, and it spreading the diseases. And even we found that clothes being just thrown into the water, and even the ashes, and also sometimes unborn dead bodies. These were found on River Ganga, but Namami Ganga program, when it came in 2014, everything came to an end. Now no one will throw the burnt ashes, unborn dead bodies or clothes. Everything it was come to an end. Now it is almost somewhat purified under the national mission called Clean Ganga, which came into existence October 2016. 2014 and 2016 projects put an end for the pollution of River Ganga, and now it is almost getting cleared. And before, it was full of coliform bacteria which causing the diseases among the human beings. Now it is reduced because of some projects, that is Clean Ganga 2016, Namami Ganga program 2014, and multi-crore project Ganga Action Plan in 1985. Remember all these three projects' name, which may asked along with the year and the project name. Okay. Now, how to manage the natural resources? Sometimes we use the materials, either it is synthetic or natural resources, but without our knowledge, we'll waste the resources. Even there is option of reuse, reduce, recycle and refuse. There are 5 R's. What are the 5 R's? Refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose and recycle. Say no to use and throw plastic. You just refuse it. You just carry a gunny bag, a small gunny bag in your bag, and wherever you want to purchase vegetables or flowers or something else, use your gunny bag, jute bag, weightless bag, reusable bag. Don't use poly bags. And next concept is reduce. So don't waste the resources like electricity, merely wasting by owning the lights and fans even it is not used, and just on the tap even there is no use. The flow of the water and wastage of the electricity should be reduced. This is for reduce. And one more is reuse. There are certain materials when we buy, and that materials can be reused, like pickle jars, the plastic bottles. Now, if we reuse instead of throwing that into garbage, we can prevent somewhat pollution. And repurpose. Now, sometimes we feel like something has been broken, having the cracks, we'll just throw it. Okay, and that can be reused for feeding the birds and growing the plants, right? So just have the repurpose principle in your mind so that you cannot throw the waste. You can reuse it. And the last 5th R is recycle. We all know that plastic, paper, glass, metals easily recycled. and it can be reused for synthesizing new things. So it is always, don't throw the papers, glasses or paper, try to recycle it. So these 5 R's helps us to recycle, to repurpose, to reduce, to reuse, and to say refuse. Now all 5 R's, everyone, if we start following, definitely we can reduce the garbage in our country. Now, how to manage our resources? Since from Vedic period, many projects and many rainwater harvesting, many more things we come across to protect the nature. During Vedic period, they used to worship not the gods, they used to worship the nature, trees, rivers, like growing the herbal plants, using only herbs, and that was giving more importance for the plants, wildlife, etc. Now, why we want to manage the forest and wildlife? Forests are the biodiversity hotspots which gives highest biodiversity among the wild species. It gives platform for wild animals and wildlife of different kinds of herbs. And who were the stakeholders depending on the forest? Now, the people living around the forest, they depend on various products of the forest. The forest department, they control the resource of the forest, and industrialists, and they grow the crops which are as per requirement of the industries. They depend on the forest. And some people, economists, nature enthusiastic people, they are so busy in preserving the nature. These are the different stakeholders depends on the forest. And why forest is managed? Why it is most important? Forests are the very wonderful biodiversity hotspots with different varieties of wild animals and wild plants. And it is most important that forest recycle the water, recycle the carbon, and they are the wealth of the nations. And even the forest, it is most important to remove the carbon dioxide and to bring the rain and to balance the ecosystem, balancing of the ecosystem. All these because of the forest. Hence, forest management is very, very important. And we all know that many people, they involved in protecting of the forest. One such example is Chipko Andalan. When the government came to demolish the trees, the Chipko Andalan started by Sundarlal Bahuguna in 1970. All people came there to fight against the government not to cut the trees, and that is called Chipko movement. And there is West Bengal Forest Department officer in 1972. He was so friendly to the nature. A.K. Banerjee, he spoken to the village people in order to develop the forest and in order to take steps on afforestation. The plain lands, the barren lands were given to the forest village people, and they are requested to develop the trees as per their requirement. And he also gave the economic support. 25% of the final harvest will be given to the village people. Now, thus, he initiated the people to undergo afforestation. These are some of the examples in order to protect the forest. And next concept is water management. Water management is so important. Without water, no organism will survive. But we know that we have plenty of water, even then that water is not potable. So potable water availability is so less, within a few years we'll see that scarcity of water for drinking purpose. Even though the earth is full of water, we don't find water to drink and in the future. So it is immediate solutions. We have to go for rainwater harvesting units and better irrigation methods and construction of dams, tanks and canals. This is very important and this is not new. It is been followed from Vedic periods. And you all know that construction of dam, it is both advantageous and disadvantageous. Construction of dams, it leads to social problems, that is, it will acquire the agriculture people land and they'll spoil the forest area for the construction of the dams, and the economic funds will be swollen up by the officials without implementing it, and because of many social problems we feel disadvantages. Meanwhile, we feel advantages of dam constructions. What are the advantages? The Britishers constructed the dams in our country. Because of the construction of dams, Britishers brought electricity to our country. Existence of electricity, it is due to the dams, right? And we find advantages when there is excess of water, it can be conserved in the dams, and when you feel the scarcity, you can reuse it from the dams. So we have advantages and also disadvantages. Now, how to manage the water, how to preserve the water, how to conserve the water? It is only method rainwater harvesting. So the source, like catchment area, is a source of water, and that should be connected to a downward lid, and just dug the well and you find the catchment area which collects the water will be collected in a well and it can be reused. And the next concept is fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, the coal and petroleum. Once if you start mining the coal and petroleum, we cannot synthesize it very soon. And if you start using it, it will come to an end. And again, you cannot synthesize it in a shorter time. The production of coal and petrol, it takes a million of years by compression and combustion. And if you start using it, it will come to end. So it is always very important, use it in limited way so that we can conserve it for future generation. Now, how to conserve it? Now, for what we use coal and other petroleum products? Mainly to get the electricity. And also we use more for automobiles. So think over these two examples and how to reduce it. Instead of taking a two-wheeler, a car personally by each person, go for public transport so that you are reducing the automobiles. Using LED bulbs, fluorescence bulbs, it uses less electricity. Instead of using the lift which takes highest power, just walk on the stairs. And instead of using the heaters and ACs in your house, use sweaters in winter, use fans in summer, so that AC is consuming more power than the AC. Sorry, fans are consuming less power than the AC. So even growing terrace garden makes the house very cool. Then no need to use the fan in the summer. It brings the chillness and coolness in to your home. So try to grow terrace garden, which makes the usage of fans zero. Like this, adopting some other options, we can reduce the power, we can reduce the usage of water, we can reduce the usage of fossil fuels. And this is very important. When we have some alternate usage forms of natural resources, definitely we are going towards the sustainable management. Sustainable management is definitely saying that we are conserving the natural resources for future use by limiting the use. Okay, this completes biology. Okay, this completes biology. Now I'll take a break. Okay, now I will have a class on chemistry at around 11 or 12 o'clock. I'll send the link. You just have just glance up on the link at 11 or 12. Okay, I'll start the chemistry at 11 or 11:30. You just look for the link. Now we all discussed complete biology. If you all have any doubt anywhere in the biology, first sem and second sem, you can post now. Okay, if there is no doubts, we'll soon see you at 11 or 11:30 on chemistry. Okay.